You know the drill. Your executive says, let's do an offsite. And suddenly you have 12 tabs open, 3 spreadsheets going, and a bad case of decision fatigue. This is where Troop shines, helping you plan without the chaos. Whether it's an offsite, a team retreat, or a last-minute meeting, Troop lets you compare locations, budgets, and travel options to make confident decisions. Troop keeps you organized every step of the way. So no more chasing info or juggling last-minute changes across 5 different platforms. If you are ready to take control of your meetings, head to leaderassistant.com/troop. That's leaderassistant.com/troop.
Hi, this is Molly, and the leadership quote today is, "The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion." Paulo Coelho.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Hey friends, welcome to the Leader Assistant podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and this is episode 346. You can check out the show notes at leaderassistant.com/346. Today, I'm super excited to be speaking with my friend, Molly Medvecky. Molly is a longtime executive assistant / administrative professional / awesome person with experience supporting C-suite executives. And Molly, we got a lot to talk about, but first of all, welcome to the show and tell everyone what city you're in.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Known each other a while, and I am currently in East Texas, a very small town called Payne Springs.
Payne Springs. Nice. I'm guessing it's kind of hot down there right now.
It is. I'm checking in at about 98 right now, 1,000% humidity. And, it's a really small town. It's about 780 people, so it's very remote.
Gotcha. And what's your favorite thing to do in town when you're not working?
Well, we don't really have a town, but per se, in my leisure time, I've been coaching girls 3rd and 4th grade volleyball. I've been trying to go on the pickleball circuit, but nobody will have me. And I'm just kind of obsessed with our 3 Boston Terriers. And we do have a little bit of a homestead here that we're building out. So we've never done this before. And so it's just always an adventure: chickens, pigs, gardens, and things. So, a little bit of everything.
Nice. So like watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to build a chicken coop and all that.
100%, all day long.
Nice. Love it. Well, Molly, tell us a little bit about your career. First of all, you've had a long career as being an assistant. I think we met when you were the EA to the CEO of Chewy. Is that right? Is that when we first met?
We met in 2020. It was the height of the pandemic, and I had a teeny budget at Chewy, just enough to buy a group of very siloed, frustrated EAs the book. And then you came in and you coached us through the material virtually that summer. And it was very important at that time because the team was so just what is going on, and very, very fast-paced environment. So your book really gave us like time together in a common language that was really important at the time. Like, I don't know if that team would have survived without having you kind of be our third-party anchor, which was really awesome. So I don't think I've ever said that to you. So thank you for that, for sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And you're welcome. And that was, for those who don't know and aren't kind of aware of that time. So that was during the pandemic, obviously, and lockdown and all that. Well, while a lot of companies were having slow downtime, like business was slow, things were kind of like, what's going to happen? Chewy was the opposite, right? It was just exploding because they're like the Amazon for pet supplies and pet food and pet toys and all that. And so people were stuck at home. What did they do? They got pets, and they wanted to feed their pets, and they wanted to get stuff for their pets. So yeah, you guys were really in the thick of some crazy, crazy times that those couple years.
Yeah, it was a great company, great time. So happy to have been part of that building time as well.
Yeah.
But overall, my other than that, my career spanned over 20 years at this point across 7 different industries, smattering of all of the orgs in between, from business development to HR, a lot of marketing. And I was originally going to actually be a high school history teacher, and I was horrible at that. And so I left that pretty quickly. Um, and really, administration is just where I've always been most comfortable. The past 15 years, I've largely just been in leadership and executive support, about 10 years of board experience, and then some earnings stuff. So it's been everything is just kind of built consistently upon, every role and my skill set. I did end up going back to school to get a business degree finally. The concentration was in innovation and entrepreneurship, which just opened up a ton of things. I don't necessarily think everybody has to go get a business degree, but it was huge for me. And just everything has really opened up a lot since then. I do love being an admin. Some people have heard me say this before, but I liken our world to having courtside seats at the final game of the Final Four. Arm's reach, the biggest and the best talent, the pace, the turnovers, everything is, happening all at once, and the energy is just crazy. So, and just kind of sitting there and knowing that, I contributed to something, whether it was
Mm.
feeding or logistics, or maybe even I recommended a play, who knows, right? So I love our industry, and that's just kind of what brings us all together here today.
Yeah, totally. How did you first get into like the assistant role?
Oh, I had to pay the bills after being a failed teacher, epically failed. And I took a job as a receptionist at a brokerage firm in South Florida in Boca Raton, and
Gotcha.
just never left. Here I
Never
am.
left. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, the we're going to talk a little bit about or a lot about the Enneagram and what that is, and specifically how it's relevant for us executive assistants. But first, what's kind of throughout your career, and you've led teams of EAs. Um, you obviously been an EA. So, what's maybe the one thing that you want to share with those assistants listening who maybe they're early in their career, maybe they're finally seeing it as a career and as something that they could do long term, or maybe even they're thinking, I want to level up and I want to lead a team of assistants someday. And what's some just general executive assistant advice that you'd like to share for those listening, since you have had it such a great career?
Sure. First and foremost, which is huge to me, is which I did a lot of early on in my career, it was tying my self-worth to execution. And once I got through that, I was just free from a lot of kind of the mental, emotional stuff that was holding me back. Always set clear boundaries, learn that early. I mean,
Hmm.
I felt, I believed in my 20s and my 30s that I had to do the on call 24/7, and I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And that just, wouldn't fly now. I mean, the 90s were also kind of wild. I'm dating myself here, so it was a little bit different environment, but at the same time, it still rings true. Just, get your boundaries together soon, and your negotiables and non-negotiables with what you're willing to do, because it doesn't even matter. People say we're like family or whatever. Everybody will exploit it, if given the
Yeah.
opportunity, which is, I think it's just human nature. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and I just think it's a human thing. So I guess those would be my tidbits of advice.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So detach your worth from your work, and set boundaries.
Yes.
Love it. Great, great. Well, tell us, okay, first of all, why did you decide to get into the whole Enneagram coaching certification stuff, and then even create a program for assistants?
Sure. So my Enneagram journey is actually directly tied to being an executive assistant. I was told early on in my career to always read and consume everything that my leader was, just to, you know, it gives anticipation, alignment, builds trust, all of those good things. So I did all of my career. Then flash forward to 2012, I was working at a company called Strategic Profits. The CEO, Rich Schefren, he's an incredibly intelligent man. And when I say that he consumes content for every meal and snack of the day, it is an understatement. And one of my actual physical responsibilities is he would leave books on my desk and I would have to unbind them, basically break books, which, oh, I can't handle that. So against me, cut them up and then scan them. And then I would send them to a transcriptionist. This was obviously before all of our AI goodness.
Right.
And she would send them back. She would redact everything and condense it all just to his highlights so that I would get book notes back and then I would categorize them and keep them for his reference. So, I mean, every day there was like 3 books on my desk. And on Mondays, it was nuts. There'd be 20 books on my desk. It would take all day. It was a wild process. So, of
Wow.
course, I got to read it all. And lo and behold, he had read something on the Enneagram. I could not tell you the name of the book or which one it was, but I read those notes and I was like, oh, I got, I was like, oh, I'm like dialing my computer. I'm going to take a test right now and figure out my type. This is, and it really spoke to me. It was different than any other personality kind of typing stuff I've done before. I've always been somebody who enjoys and finds value in things like Myers-Briggs and Clifton Strang's and DISC. I mean, I think that they're all really valuable, but this was just different. And it really worked for me. So I just became like a devout student and I did workshops of my own and webinars and blogs, all of the things just to consume that information. And then when I was in between roles, in between Chewy and Zapier, I actually took that, kind of downtime opportunity to get certified as a coach because since 2012, anybody that I've mentored or coached, I would always say, hey, can you take this Enneagram test so that we can get further faster? And I would say people that I've worked with who do take it, we, ramp 30% faster just because I can better understand them more quickly and adapt my communication and my strategies to support them in our
Hmm.
work together. So it just became kind of a tipping point where I was like, I want to combine my two loves.
Right.
So all things admin and Enneagram, and here we have EA Enneagram. So
Nice.
that's my journey.
Cool. So we're not going to go super into like all the different types and styles.
Yeah.
It's a little much for a podcast, but it's also at least for me, someone who's visual, it's very helpful to visually see the chart and see how everything kind of ties together. But for those listening that do know about it and that do know their style or their type or whatever, what's your type? What's your number? I
I'm
can't
a
remember.
6. I'm a 6.
Okay.
So, in most common circles, I guess the label would be a loyalist or a skeptic. So, I'm a 6. What are you? Do you know?
You know what? It's been so long since I've done it.
Ah,
I honestly can't remember. I want to say like a 5 with a 2 or something. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. I have my results somewhere, but it's been a
I'd
while
love to
since
see
I've dug
that
into it.
sometime.
What um what do you think, in your experience working with executives, what's maybe the most common number, generally speaking for executives, like C-suite?
Well, I actually have not ever had a leader who took the test, and I am very against typing people without knowing. So the Enneagram, just for context, it's a actually I think I should probably give a little context.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, let's go. Yeah,
So,
I kind of
so
skipped
for
the
those of you
what
who
what is
don't
an
even,
Enneagram?
yeah, what is
Yeah.
the Enneagram? Just let's really quickly backtrack on that, and that'll come kind of clear why I'm saying this. So the Enneagram it's a personality system that outlines 9 distinct types. offering unique, it's like a lens or perspective basically, and understanding yourself based on motivations and fears. So those are your internal core motivations and fears. So what's different and sets that apart from Myers-Briggs or DISC or Strength Finders, those all will tell you what you do, whereas the Enneagram will tell you why you do it. So that's the bottom line distinction there. And because it's using, more motivations, core motivations, you cannot see. Behaviors, the what you can see. So every leader, you could see a lot of what,
Gotcha.
but you could never know really what is driving that. I have been told I was actually mistyped early on as a one because we show up very similarly.
Hmm.
And it turns out I was six because of my motivations. So
Gotcha.
you look the same. So you err on the side of caution there. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel
that
like,
makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, all of my leaders have always been, very smart people. They are big visionaries. They have this, you know, it's insatiable questioning of, and what about this? And what about that? Just that consistent, go further, take it further mentality and retention, I would say too, is huge.
Yeah, and I do remember that now, and I just pulled up my results
Yeah.
to try to refresh my memory. But I do remember that being like, some of those other tests, you can kind of tell, like you can kind of identify someone and tag them because you're like, oh, okay, this is, it's got like DISC or Myers-Briggs or whatever. They're probably this. But yeah, this one was a little more like even some people have a hard time tagging themselves until they go through
Yes.
the actual test. So this says that mine is it says 5 with a minus sign next to it. Let's see, 5, and then I think I scored highest on the 5, and then
Okay.
under the resourceful characteristics score, I scored highest on the 6. Does that make sense?
Okay. So it's that to me says that you're a dominant five with probably a very strong six wing.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, because this non-resourceful characteristic score was a 90 on the 5. Um,
Yeah, I think that's
so
pretty safe to say.
yeah. So yeah, so which it the label that this one had was for the 5 is the wise person, which of course I'm wise, right? So,
Investigator. I've often called investigator. There are a lot of different names and titles and labels you find with the Enneagram
Gotcha.
to help kind of understand them. I personally try to shy away from that because I think anchoring bias can really get in the way.
Hmm.
At least it does for me personally. So I do, I guess, more
You
for
mean like
myself.
labeling the number?
Well, yeah. So a six, often called a loyalist, right? So
Right.
that automatically anchors me as somebody who's very loyal, which I am, but my underlying motivation is fear-based, and I'm constantly trying to construct security and processes for myself and those around me to keep everybody safe. So it's a really interesting dynamic. And I don't like using labels that much, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah. No, that
And
makes
again, like
sense.
you don't want to anchor somebody to be like, oh, just because you're this number, you're this. So ones are often called the perfectionist. Do you think those people really like being labeled a perfectionist? Like,
Right.
I think it just anchors people.
That's really interesting though, because I knew there were different, networks or organizations that administer the tests and all that. Because like this one, the number 1 says the good person, the number 6 says the loyal person, the number 5 is the wise person. So it's interesting that I didn't realize that there were different, you know, organizations or whatever that labeled them a little bit differently. So that's
Oh,
interesting.
yeah. And I think that just because, that's them trying to be a little bit different and maybe nuanced, like this
Yeah,
is my
yeah.
jam. But again, I just try to shy away from this because I don't want anybody to I wouldn't want to be labeled like that. So,
Right. No, it makes sense. Cool. Well, okay. So now we kind of have a little bit of background on what it
yeah.
is. What's the, what's the main, we already talked about kind of the difference too, like between
Mhm.
Myers-Briggs and the disc, but what is the maybe what's your selling point for how it applies to assistants, right? And how does your program, the EA Enneagram, how does it apply to assistants? How does it help assistants? What's kind of your take on it, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. Well, the administrative profession and admins in general, I think we are so uniquely positioned in proximity to leadership and the decision makers and entire teams, right? So to have empathy, awareness, and work with intention and really develop our EQ is critical. I'd say tools can be taught, but EQ, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, those things, they have to be grown and developed and nurtured. So this is an excellent way to move that forward when you can really understand what you're motivated by, and then hopefully what other people are motivated by around you.
Hmm.
I mean, we don't just juggle tasks and we're managing people. We can't afford to be, like on autopilot. And we actually already toggle between multiple personalities a day. If you really think about what we do, we probably talk and have to shift between 5 different personality types every day. And right there just makes us incredibly agile. And navigating those personalities is just it should be at the forefront. And because I feel, yes, although I will say caveat, although in the past 10 years there's been a huge change in supporting administrative professionals and we are getting a lot more tools and acknowledgement and all of that good stuff, I still think that there's a huge disconnect between the expectation and the support that we get, especially when it comes to more internal. Sure, they'll be like, oh, you want to take a Microsoft training? Awesome, let's go. Or you want to learn how to use this product or this tool. But I have not experienced a ton of kind of interpersonal, emotional, mental development for our
Hmm.
population, I guess. I think we're a little bit underserved in that way.
Are you an executive assistant in the New York City area, or do you like traveling to the New York City area? Then join me on Thursday, November 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern at the W New York in Union Square in New York City. I'm hosting Leader Assistant Live, a workshop for executive assistants and administrative assistants. This live workshop, training, and networking event is going to feature myself as a speaker, as well as my friend Becky Kawapuni. We'll have about 1.5 hours of training, some group discussion, Q&A, and then a happy hour party for networking with fellow executive assistants. Registration is only $197, and it includes snacks and drinks and the training. To sign up, visit leaderassistantlive.com/NYC. Again, that's leaderassistantlive.com/NYC. We hope you'll join us on November 13th in New York City. Yeah, that makes sense. So what's the structure of your program then? Is it like kind of like an online course? Is it kind of like a cohort or a coaching thing? Is it everything, all the above?
Yep. So I do one-on-one coaching and I can do customized um, team cohorts as well. The most recent thing that I am launching is a new cohort. It'll be coming out sooner than later. I have not officially released it yet, but it's a 5-week program, 90 minutes each week, where we get together online, obviously, and there is a curriculum. There's a workbook that we follow, and it takes you through finding your number, getting through that process, working through if you've been mistyped or anything, and then the basic education about the different layers of the Enneagram. Because again, I don't want to go too much into it and confuse people right now and be like, oh, there's wings and there's this and
Right,
there's
right.
that. But there's so many different layers to it. They can go really deep. And that's what we do for 5 weeks. Again, with the workbook. But what's really cool about it, and what I'm really excited about actually, is making sure that I've got a good mix of numbers so that we can actually really play things out, right? So really do situational unpacking. I can give you an example. Okay, somebody slaps a rogue meeting on the calendar, right? And this is something that happens to all of us all the time. A number one is going to freak out and be like, oh, they've ruined everything. And how could they do this? And it's going to derail them a bit. It's just that's their default,
Hmm.
unless they're aware of it, right? And they probably are going to have a chip on their shoulder the rest of the day and be a little bit irritated, right? Whereas a seven, totally opposite, is going to be like, oh, sweet, what's this about? Oh, it's a surprise, something unexpected. They're very enthusiastic and they're ready for surprises, and they're going to join that call like, hey, what's going on? Are we all getting raises? And, just they're wonderful people. But then again, a five is going to say, I did not have time to prepare for this. I need to get more information. And I'm feeling uneasy. And they probably show up to the call and they'll be a little bit shut down and maybe not participate because they really didn't feel like they had time to prepare. Huge information gatherers. And that's how they create their own security. So one situation, three completely different, internal reactions that show up very differently. And it just, if you can understand that about yourself and that those other ways exist, I just think that that's invaluable. I mean,
Hmm.
I know when I learned about, well, being a six, I can be a little bit of a negative Nancy. And, part of always trying to set up systems for safety and security, it's what about this? What about that? What about this? So if somebody's really excited and they're passionate about something, they're telling me, but then I go straight to what about this? What about that? They feel
Mm.
this small. And it's me knowing if you really hear me saying, I really love you, I'm scared for you, I don't want you to fail, like that's what I'm saying. It doesn't come out that way. So it's how I can self-regulate that and be supportive and excited for that person without ruining their day or
Right.
they're killing their dream. So
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to ask is, there's the step one of like going through the assessment and trying to figure
mhm.
out what style you are and all that, what motivates you, how you might, like you said, react to certain scenarios. But then the next level, similarly to these other assessments and strength finders and Myers-Briggs and all that, but the next level is to try to understand how the other types might interact with you or how you might interact with them. And right. And then kind of that's like another layer to uncover.
And that's what I really want to get to with EA Enneagram, is having a really engaged group that wants to know their type well enough so that they can say, oh my gosh, okay, you're a six and you're always coming at me like this. How should I respond to you? And just really have open, kind of practice, yeah, activities with it. The other piece of EA Enneagram that I think is going to be very impactful is that once you finish, you can show up once a month. I'm going to have what's called a learning lab. And let's say you want to practice some more and work on your implementation and your delivery. You let me know ahead of time if you want to do something specifically with a number. So say you suspect again that your
Hmm.
boss is maybe a two. And you say, Molly, like, I keep coming up against this. I think they might be a two. Can we make sure we practice? And I'll make sure that there's a two on that call that we can role play and go through it and try to kind of maybe come up with a plan. That's the ongoing support piece of it that
Nice.
I think is going to be pretty cool, especially when people are really wanting to get a little bit deeper into it and try some things on.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, it's such and I remember, again, it's been a while since I really dug into it, but when I did, I was like, man, this is such a helpful, emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
development, social development, communication development. helps you kind of realize how to better communicate with your kids, your friends,
Mhm.
your partner, your spouse, like,
Oh
and of
yeah.
course your colleagues and your boss. So,
My,
uh,
hu- my my husband is a nine, which is typically called stereotypically the peacekeeper. So he's really chill, really mellow, and he is just a wonderful person. So you got me, the six, who's like dialing out on anxiety and everything. But what's interesting is when a nine is in a moment of stress, they actually take on six attributes and characteristics.
mm.
And I remember one time, this is when it really clicked for us as a couple. He was saying something about we have to do this, we have to do that. And I was like, oh, babe, wow, you're totally sixing out right now. And he stopped and he looked at me and was like, it like hit him. He's like, this is how you feel all the time. And
hmm
I was like, yes, you are in my skin right now all the time. He's like, I could not live like this. And I'm like, hey, welcome to the circus. So
Wow, that's
yeah, so it's
great.
that kind of stuff. I mean, if you have a leader that's willing to do it and you can have those types of conversations, oh my gosh, that would be insane and
Yeah,
so amazing.
awesome.
That would be cool.
Cool, Molly. Well, this is great. Super interesting stuff. I'm so glad that you put this together. My brother actually got certified as an Enneagram coach a while back, and he was looking into doing some stuff. And I was kind of early stages thinking, oh, you know what, we should do something for assistants. And so I'm glad that you took this on and ran with it, so that I don't have to, because I do think it's valuable, and I do think it's a hole that needs to be filled, and you're the perfect person to do it. So where's the best place for people to learn more about EA Enneagram and reach out and connect with you?
Sure, eaenneagram.com is the website. You can reach out through there or you can hit me up on LinkedIn, DMs, all the good stuff. Pretty accessible. So try to reach out and respond within 24 hours of anybody who contacts me. So
Great, great. Well, we'll put both those links in the show notes at leaderassistant.com/346. Again, leaderassistant.com/346 to connect with Molly and learn more about the EA Enneagram. Molly, thank you so much for taking your time and being on the show. And I'm excited to, let you get back to your homestead and hear what kind of animals or farm equipment you're gonna get into next.
I got a new John Deere tractor. Didn't
Oh,
I was not on track for this in my life, but now I own a tractor.
there you go. Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show, and thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, be sure to reach out and say hi to Molly online.
Awesome. Thank you.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com.
The ping pong back and forth game of manually scheduling meetings is unnecessary and inefficient in today's automated world. It's time to embrace calendar automation for increased productivity and capacity. You Can Book Me by Capacity is my favorite automated booking solution. It's a game changer for me and my executive. You can manage scheduling for your entire executive team, send automated reminders, add buffer time between appointments, and much more. You Can Book Me integrates with your existing Microsoft and Google calendars so you can add automation without disrupting your current workflow. Go to leaderassistant.com/calendar to learn more and sign up for a free trial of this powerful scheduling automation tool. That's leaderassistant.com/calendar.